I want you to picture this for a moment, okay? You've just turned 65, and after working in the UK for decades, paying taxes, national insurance, taking care of your family, and doing everything that you were told was the responsible thing to do, you finally sit down to think about retirement. You check your pension statement, and the total of everything you've saved, including workplace pension, personal pension, everything sums up to £90,000. That's it. And in that moment, you realize that, wait, this isn't just a number. It's the result of years spent assuming things are going to figure themselves out. Because when you add in state pensions, which currently works out to roughly £800 a month, you start doing maths you never thought you would have to do. Can I stay in my home? Will I have to keep working till I drop dead? Can I ask my kids to help with my retirement? What happens if my health changes? And the reason I'm sharing this is not to scare you. It's because for a long time, I realized I was walking around with that fear in the background. Not because I was doing badly, but because I had never actually calculated my number. I had assumptions, but I never had clarity. And the thing that most people don't realize is that the stress doesn't come from the number you need to retire. The stress comes from not knowing the number while still making life decisions like everything is going to be fine. So I've decided to stop guessing and sit down with a spreadsheet to understand the reality I'm working with. This spreadsheet you are seeing on your screen is the exact one I used, and I'm sharing it with you for free. You can check the description box and download it. It's not fancy and it doesn't promise miracles. All it does is answer one very uncomfortable question. If I continue living the life I have now, what does it actually cost for me to buy my freedom later if I want to retire or retire early? So in this video, I'm going to take you through the spreadsheet, and by the end of this video, you should be able to calculate your own cost of freedom. So let's get into it.
Fuse like a magnet, lose won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket.
Now, this section asks about time because time seems to be one of the things that we tend to underestimate a lot. So I start with my age. This defines how long my money has to work for my freedom. Then I enter my target fire age. Not the age I stop working forever, but the age where work becomes optional. That distinction matters because this isn't about quitting life. It's about buying flexibility, my ability to choose what I want to do to earn money. Once you put all of this in, the spreadsheet calculates the number of months between those two ages. It brings our timeline to life. And here you can no longer tell yourself, oh, I have ages till I retire. You can clearly see how much work every pound has to do. The pension gap is where the spreadsheet forces you to confront something that is specific to life in the UK. This is the gap between when you want freedom and when your pension pot actually becomes accessible. Because the state pension and your workplace pensions don't kick in until years later, which means if you want flexibility earlier, you will essentially self-fund that gap. Seeing the number of years I would need to bridge before my pension's age actually helped me understand that I would just rely on my pension was never a complete plan. Listen, before we go to the next section, the reason I'm so passionate about this topic is because I don't want to be the type of parent who would say that, oh, I will rely on my kids financially in my pension years. I want to be able to build a pot that is sufficient enough for me, even if I take my kids' finances out of the equation. And this is actually how we break the poverty cycle in our community. These are one of my motivations on this topic. There are other ones which I think I have revealed in the video up here. You can check it out. The monthly expense section is where most people get uncomfortable because it forces you to stop romanticizing your future and look honestly at your present. I'm not entering a dream or luxurious life here. I'm planning for the cost of the life that I am already living, which is housing, council tax, food, transport, childcare, remittance, etc. And yes, I'm not spending on childcare yet, but it's something I'm budgeting for. And for us immigrants here, there are some finances that we carry quietly that don't make it into generic financial advice. And when you total these numbers, the spreadsheet becomes confrontational. But this monthly figure is what your freedom will cost you. Once we figured out our monthly expenses, we can multiply it to an annual expense of, let's say, 48,000. The next part looks at how much we can invest to be able to retire early. We have some investing assumptions here, and this part is about being realistic. So I enter what I already have invested, how much I contribute on a monthly basis, and then I make assumptions about returns and inflation. So we're saying our annual return is 10% on our investment, and then inflation is also 2%. Now with this part, if you're already investing into, let's say, a global ETF with a different average return, you would have to change this part to that number. But this here isn't about chasing the highest number though. It's about understanding the relationship relationship between time, consistency, and reality, because on an annual basis, returns can go up or down in the stock market. And what I like about this section is that it removes emotions. You are no longer arguing with yourself about whether you are doing enough. You are simply seeing what the math is saying. The FIRE outcome section is where everything comes together. This is where the spreadsheet calculates the total amount of invested assets you need to fund your lifestyle in retirement. And it uses a safe withdrawal rate of 4% that is designed for your assets or your investments to last about 30 years. And this 4% here actually comes from the Trinity study. You can look it up. It says that to prevent a retiree from running out of money over a 30-year period, you just have to withdraw 4% of your initial portfolio every year. And some financial planners have now reduced that to 3.7%. In the same light, this section also shows the pension shortfall if you plan to retire before pension age, which is something many people underestimate until it's too late. When I saw my FIRE number of 1.5 billion for the first time, I didn't feel defeated, because now I wasn't operating on fear, I was operating on facts, and it helped me to see the actions that I could take to get there. We need a destination to plan towards, right? So this is your starting point. This particular part is uncomfortable and I will not sugarcoat it, because the spreadsheet showed me how far my current contribution could take me and how much extra money I would need to invest to stay on track. And like I said in my other video, I am not there yet. I am still working towards it. Now, from my years of auditing financial institutions, one thing I have learned is that every calculation with assumptions and judgments needs a stress test, because as we all know, things don't always go as planned. So I always ask a more honest question with these types of calculations. What happens if things go wrong? What if there's an early market crash, which we can see here would mean lower return for the first few years? And this doesn't collapse the plan. It just means that you would need higher contributions during that period. And you would have to plan for times like this so that you'll be able to manage the damage that comes with it. And that way you are not derailed from your plan. Then the second scenario is, what if something happens in life, like life always does, and you have to pause contribution? What if there is a problem with your visa, or you don't work for a year, or there is an unexpected family responsibility that will cost you so much? Again, this doesn't break the plan. The spreadsheet showed me that the cost of that pause, it shows up later as extra pressure. You would either have to increase your contribution later or extend your time frame a bit to make up for the years that you didn't contribute. Then the third stress test is increase in expenses. So we are increasing expenses by 15% after a few years. And this is not because I plan to inflate my lifestyle recklessly, but because life gets more expensive, especially with children, health changes, or supporting others. And this is the scenario that increases the FIRE number itself to 1.7. So you see that relying purely on today's expenses alone could be misleading if you do not revisit the plan. And if you're watching this thinking, this feels like a lot, I want to reassure you that you don't need to get every assumption perfect. You just need a certain points that react honestly when life changes. And that is what this spreadsheet does. It doesn't pretend life will go smoothly. It prepares you for when it doesn't. And when I think back to that 65-year-old version of me, sitting across a financial advisor, looking over my pension statements, what scares me now isn't the size of the number. It's the idea of reaching that age and realizing I never tested my plan against different scenarios. And that's why I stopped guessing and built this. And like I said, if you want to use this spreadsheet, the link is in the description box. It's free. Use it slowly, change the assumptions and adapt the stress test to your own life. The goal isn't to make you panic, it's to replace our anxiety with clarity. In subsequent videos, I will actually talk about the different levers that would help us close the gap, because once you know the numbers, strategy finally makes sense. If you're an immigrant in the UK and you've been avoiding this exercise, I want you to know something. Avoiding the numbers doesn't mean you are bad with money. It usually means you've already had to be resilient in too many other areas of your life. But we still need some sort of clarity in our lives, because that is way kinder than uncertainty and assuming things are going to fall into place without us taking any action. And you don't need to be perfect. If you really like this video and found value in it, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps YouTube to know that this is valuable content that they need to push out. And please subscribe, because subscribing would definitely help you find your way back. I will see you in my other videos. For now, stay safe and stay blessed. Bye.